Hey everybody, Todd Michael Putnam from Creative Adventure Tables, bringing you another adventure table idea. This is going to be the Kobolds of Chaos. The Kobolds of Chaos. We're playing Shadowdark, but I'm loosely basing the entire campaign off the old B2 Keep on the Borderlands basic module, and the players have headed out from the keep in this upcoming session, and they're going to investigate the Caves of Chaos, where they understand that there's some enemies out in this area that are working to undermine the keep itself because they want to destroy the keep. And so the players, are being the heroes that they are going to go out and investigate and find out what's going on. So this whole session, they're level 2 right now in Shadowdark. This whole session is basically about exploring the caves. For Fog of War, I just have black poster board that covers all of the rooms and whatnot. So when they get to a certain area, I can take that off, and anything that they can see, that's in there, they'll be able to see. If there's monsters that show up later or hidden or something, obviously I would wait to place them. But if they're just in there, like I've got giant rats in there right now, I just pull it off and I describe it very quickly, and we're right into the action because they can clearly see everything that's going on. When it comes to harder to cover areas, like these burrows that I have, this is the what I call the fallen passageway, or the fallen path, excuse me. So it's a giant pathway through almost like a tunnel that has a bottomless pit to it, and the players can get knocked off and stuff like that. So, but it's obviously irregular shaped rooms, and I just have these black napkins that I got from off of Amazon, and I just pull them off when they get to that area. I just pull them off, and that's the section they can see. And I think I have like 3 or 4 of them, and that basically covers it for that. The darkness itself, of course, I have little McCready torches. I think it's McCreads or something like that. They make LED devices, so I've got those cool little torches put under the minis to keep track of which players actually have light sources. And then to keep track of the light sources themselves, I had an app developed that it's a torchlight timer. Just go to torchlighttimer.com and click on light a torch. Bink. If you press it, there we go, light a torch. It'll come up with a 60-minute torch. You can see it's like a bright yellow color. If you just tap it, you can actually bring the time down. So let's say they spend 10 minutes in a room, and they just like, oh, we spend this amount of time exploring in the room. You don't actually wait the 10 minutes. You just go 5, if I hit the button, 5, 10. There we go. And it brings the counter down. If you don't want the actual counter itself to show, you can click on hardcore mode and then just tap it again. And the players don't have any idea other than when the torch itself changes, which it does when you go to hardcore mode. And I'm going to bring it down to when it gets below 30 minutes, 34. And let me watch one more time. When I click it, it's going to turn to a shorter frame, and it's going to be like an orange color. Bam. So that lets them know, oh, they're below 30 minutes. And when it goes down again to less than 5 minutes or less than 6 minutes, it turns into a dark red flame, much smaller again. And of course, at 0 minutes, the thing just pops out. So and you can either have that in hardcore mode, so they can't see any of that other than just the color of the flame. Or if you want them to be able to see the time, that's it. There's sound effects if you want it on there. Pizza shows up, you can pause it. There's all kinds of stuff. That's just torchlighttimer.com. Right there, torchlighttimer.com. It's absolutely free to use. You're not going to have any pop-up ads or anything like that. So if you're interested in a torch timer, go ahead and use that. As far as the adventure itself is concerned, so the section they go through, so there's going to be several sections. The first section is basically called The Narrows, and it's this section right here because it's all very narrow, basically. There's not much to it. And the only thing that's going to be in here is going to be relatively easy stuff. There's going to be like some giant rats and stuff. The rats, if they bite you, if they bite the players, they've got disease. And in Shadowdark, the disease means that they're unable to heal anytime. Healing spells won't work on them. Resting wasn't going to help heal any damage done. And on top of that, they do constitution damage, 1d4 points of con damage every day. And of course, if they ever get to 0 con, that's it. It's over. They make a new check each day to see if they can, get out of it. They're going to have some harmless mushrooms that are over here. You see these big red ones, these big red round ones or whatever it is. Those are kind of harmless ones. That's kind of lull them into a false sense of safety. But when they get over into this section here, there's going to be some jumps that they have to make across this bridge, walk across this bridge, jump over there. But they're going to see with by their torchlight that little treasure chest in the middle. And if they go for it, Those mushrooms here are not safe. So they actually will release. I'm trying to get something set up here. They'll actually release their spores. I got this really cool fog machine that's it's like $38. It's on the Kickstarter. I'll put the link down below or in the description. So when they go inside, if they drop down there and they get anywhere within 5 or 10 feet of those mushrooms, it'll release out these spores. And then I'll just put the fog machine in there, of course, just to add the fun to it, which looks really cool. For example, if you double that with, you put your wizard who's got his LED torch on and put it in there, and that makes for a pretty cool experience. You can see why the players might get immersed in that kind of experience. What happens when the spores, if they don't make their con saves, then they start choking and they get dizzy and whatnot, and they'll lose their dexterity ability. It won't be as good, and they'll be at disadvantage for dexterity checks for the remainder of the day. And it's up to them if they want to try and rest in the dungeon or go back outside. If they want to just keep pressing on, stay where they're at. That's, of course, a decision the players will have to make. That does look so cool. Anyway, eventually they'll come over to here in the central way, which is the Fallen Path. And it's basically like a bottomless pit that's got a natural stone bridge that winds up and down all over the place across it. And as the players go across, when they first get to this one here, they're going to hear the sound. It's basically like walls of air and darkness is really kind of the feeling. They get like this slight breeze going through, and it's real scary because they can't see only beyond the torch. But of course, when the torch light's lit anything up in the distance would be able to see very clearly that somebody's coming in. So they're going to be a huge disadvantage against the dark adapted creatures here. And there's going to be like the foreboding sound of wings flapping in the air and stuff, but they're not really able to tell exactly where it is because it's out of the range of the torchlight, which is a cool effect. So that's going to get them looking up and around and worried about that. But then the first attack is actually going to be from the kobolds that crawl up from under around the side. They're going to crawl up onto this right here, and they're going to make a whole bunch of attacks that way. They're kobolds. They're really weak. They only do like 1 to 4 damage or 1 to 6 damage. These are second level players, but it's the fear factor of them, just you don't know when they're going to come from next because they're coming up from around and crawling from underneath, and then there's wing sounds coming up from above, so it helps generate a little bit of paranoia. As the players get down into this area right here, they're going to find there's going to be some eggs and stuff, and those eggs are going to have like gold and stuff sprinkled around them because these particular kobolds, this tribe feels like if they sprinkle a little gold and silver and stuff over it, that's going to bring the gods of fortune and greed and whatnot and basically bless their young to be strong, powerful, kobold warriors and stuff. So if they're picking away at that, more kobolds are going to come up and attack them because obviously those eggs are the future of the kobold colony. But then more fun happens when they get up here. You can see I have these two flying kobolds that they're normal kobolds, but they're riding basically a winged goat, each of them, and so it's some kind of a mutant goat. And these ones, when the attacks, the kobold with the spear, of course, is going to stab, but the winged goat is going to try and kick them and see if they can knock them off the edge, and they'll have to make either strength or dex checks in order to avoid being knocked off. And if they fall over the edge, they get one last chance to make a dex check or strength check in order to stop themselves from falling. And if they fall, it's death. That's it. This Shadow Dark is a lot like the old world D&D where, if you fail a saving throw or something, that could lead to death. If you fail a poison save, that could be it. It doesn't matter how many hit points you are, you're dead. If you fall into the bottomless pit, that's it, you're dead. So they'll battle their way through that and stuff. It's up to them if they want to go down, like there's going to be a drop through right here to see more eggs, to see, do we want to destroy these eggs and try and destroy the colony? And if we do, of course, there's going to be some more kobolds down here for them to fight. But this is kind of a cool area for them to go through. And then it'll drop them into this section over here, and there's going to be prisoners in here. And what I do for stuff to keep the session rolling, if players have died, not players, if characters have died. If players have died, I've got a real problem. If any of the characters have died, I can have some kobold prisoners in here, and some of them can be adventurers that were captured, and I can release the players can release them, and then the player can pick up that new character and join back into the thing. They don't have to wait for the entire session just because their characters died. I try to get them back into the game within a few minutes. And then whatever characters they've rolled up or whatever, they can grab one of them, and I'll pull an NPC, I'll pull a mini for me to hear out and say, okay, here you go. One of these guys is an actual adventure and they're ready to go. So that's just a way to keep the players playing, even if one of their characters dies, without making their characters immortal. So they suffer the loss of, the wealth and whatever gold coins and magic and stuff they had. In this room here, there'll be some sacrificial people that are, there's be some skulls and bodies that are on altars, and clearly these kobolds are sacrificing humans. That would be the reason why they were keeping them in there, so they could make their cultist sacrifice or whatever to their evil gods. So this room here is just basically saying, oh, look, these particular kobolds are definitely evil, and you want to do something about it. And then the next room that they come up, and again, all of this is going to be covered, so they don't see it until they go through. You can see this really small little doorway that they go in, kind of like they would have in castles of old, where the doorway was small and low, and whoever came through had to actually duck in order to get in, putting them at the mercy of whoever's inside. And my characters are all second level. Kobolds are first level, really, really easy. In Shadowdark, they've only got like 1 hit point. They have an ability to dodge once per day an attack that will hit them, so essentially they have 2 hit points. Or it takes 2 hits to kill them. But basically really, really weak creatures. So this is an opportunity to essentially swarm the players and give them the fear of being swarmed with all these attacks on them, but actually killing the monsters. They can go through them in swaths or whatnot. If they've got an AoE, burning hand spell or anything like that, they might be able to kill some of them, several of them fairly quickly. And any ones that coming in here, they could alternate. Some of them will be attacked by spears, and other ones, the kobolds will basically throw a net on them, or try to throw a net on them. And if a net gets thrown on them, they're basically entangled and they're stuck in that spot. They can only move basically 5 feet at a time until they make a dex check and get out of the net. And again, if they hadn't rested or they hadn't got rid of the spores that infected them from over here, that puts them at a disadvantage for their dex and strength checks, that could be a real problem. That could really, mess things up. Same thing with if they got knocked off the edges for over here. If they're still suffering from those spores, that makes this much more dangerous. That might be something that they have to think through. Once they get there, they're like, oh, wait a minute, this could be a real problem. So try to give them things where they have to think about how they're going to proceed. So anyway, so there's a whole bunch of the normal kobolds in here. This is what I call the earthen claw. The normal kobolds that are in here that'll basically attempt to swarm as best as they can to defend their lair. Coming down, then we get into the fiery maw. And these are kobolds that have been blessed by their gods, and they're basically immune to fire. That's basically the real difference. And some of them are blessed with wings, so they're flying along and they basically go into this lava pit and they're going to throw lava balls at the players that do like 1 to 6 points of damage. And it's up to the players if they're going to just run across as fast as they can, or if they want to stand and fight in this one little corner here and just try and take them out one at a time. These particular kobolds won't fly out of this particular room. They'll stay here because they like the heat, etc., so on and so forth. But that's just one more narrow cragway that they have to go across, and obviously falling into the magma, that's gonna be death for sure. So they have to avoid that. Then going around, there's stairs going up into here, and that leads to there's some miners. The miners aren't going to really fight them that much. They'll make maybe a few attacks, but as soon as 1 or 2 of them is killed, these guys aren't really fighter types, and they'll try and escape. Or flee, or if they fail their morale check, they'll cringe and they'll throw whatever gems they found at the players in hopes of not being slaughtered. And then we get to this section over here, because it'll come across from this area through that little narrow passageway right there, and then to this section right here where there's all these kobold berserkers. Basically, they don't have any weapons, but they're totally immune to morale checks. And they've basically been radicalized, if you will, in service of their cult deity god thing. And so they just attack like crazy with their claws. They only do 1d4 points of damage, but they're totally immune to morale checks, and they fight to death. So again, you've got that swarm type thing going on. They still only have 1 hit point, but they can dodge once per day. And so basically you've got to get 2 hits on them in order to take one of them down. But that's, again, the fear factor. Now, the players are 2nd level, so they've got a lot more hit points than the kobolds do, but it's the swarm of attacks that is going to hopefully generate a certain amount of fear or concern. And then up on the next level, you can see the stairs going up. There's going to be some other kobolds up here that do have regular weapons. They're not the Berserkers, so there's still only 1 hit point, but they've got morale checks and stuff. But they're going to use their missile fire weapons and be trying raining down on the players. So they're going to be basically double swarmed. So I'm trying to create fear from that whole swarming tactic, as opposed to a straight one-on-one fight or a whole all the players against one big bad guy. Here it's more just the fear of there's so many of them. Are we sure we're going to be able to take them out before they start taking us down? And then last but not least, finally they come up to this section here. You can see some stairs going up, and that's where the king of the kobolds, the king of kobold chaos, is up here. And here he's got a number of things. So up at the top in the center is the kobold lord himself. In the back is like the chief shaman. Then there's one more of the little winged lieutenants, so to speak, that's up there. And of course, he's got his little pile of gold up behind him. And he's up on the stone dais. And directly in front of him is 4 shaman, kobold shaman. And they've got little kobold undead skeletons. Again, 1 hit points, no morale checks or whatever it is. So the skellies come in and do the melee. The shamans have spells that they cast. And then the king has got 1 spell that he casts, which is a spider swarm spell, and after that he's got a bow and he's going to shoot his arrows and stuff, and the other guys just either do range and just do various ranged attacks. So all of that to finally take out the king of the kobolds and clear out the first area. And now, of course, in the original Keep on the Borderlands, there's more than 1 set of caves. I think it's like A through J or something like that in caves. And so there'll be more caves. There's also going to be a note in there where there's a basically written in 2 different languages. And if they're able to read either Draconic or Goblin, because then it's the 2, it basically says the same thing, which is, in service of the Chaos Lords, we destroy weak humans in the keep. And so there's some kind of an alliance going on. And there's a handprint, 2 tiny handprints, claw-like hands, almost childlike in size. Clearly one of them is from the Kobold King, and then there's some other race that they're apparently aligned with that they need to find out what's going on with that. So, but of course, I'm sure they'll go back to the keep and restock, get themselves to level 3, and be ready for the next adventure when we play. So that's it. That is the Kobolds of Chaos. As far as what this build is made from, it's made from 95% Dwarven Forge, and then 5%, I guess, my 3D printed Todd tiles that you can download from thangs.com, like these guys right down here. You don't need, they're absolutely free, so you can just download them and print as many as you got if you've got a 3D printer. Or if you can carve with foam, it's just, I put those blocks in there. You could use foam, you could use a shoebox, it doesn't matter. And I just put my Dwarven Forge tiles on top of that in order to create the elevations. You have separate levels. And you can see how that makes things look more interesting and exciting, obviously, to the players as they see the different areas that they're going across. And they're going up and down and then they're up to here, then they're down to here, then they're up to here, then they're up another one, and they're up another one. It just adds that elevation just adds some drama, physical or visual drama to the experience. But all Dwarven Forge. These are the Dwarven Forge Dreadwood Forest, and then their standard cavern tiles. These are their burrows. These are all on their websites. Again, more standard cavern tiles, and then we've got some lava terrain trays. And some other, bottomless pit terrain trays put in there. And then all that, it's put on a mat. I can't remember what battle mat it's from. It's like a forest mat or whatever, but it's like a dark green that I just put on there. Just because it's a, what kind of mat am I thinking of? It's a mouse mat type material. And the advantage of that is that when the sun hits it, it doesn't glint off like vinyl does. So I found that works better. So Kicking in close to 20 minutes, so I apologize for the longer video, but hopefully you enjoy it. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos, and if you enjoy either the content, any portion of it, the stories that I'm telling, the methodologies that I use to build stuff, the way that I tell my stories, the other unique stuff that I use. Oh, one last thing I forgot to put on there. I've said it in other videos, but and then I have, all my players have dead buttons, and I have one too. So when a player gets down to 0 hit points, or after they take out a monster and stuff, instead of saying, oh, okay, he dies or blah, 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 I just press this. And it plays the famous Wilhelm scream, which is a famous scream from a bunch of different movies, from Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars and all this other kind of stuff. It's just, you can look up Wilhelm scream and get all the info on that. But anyways, I just ordered those buttons off Amazon. They can record one sound, so I just recorded the Wilhelm scream. And whenever my players, okay, and you throw your spear and it goes through this guy's head. How much damage do you do? 4 points of damage. Oh, that's it. And he goes falling off the edge, and I play the sound, and it just makes everybody laugh, and we have a good time, and it just adds a little bit of fun to it. So that's the kind of stuff that I use in order to tell the story. Once again, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next adventure. Take care. Bye.